What there's a lot of CrossFitters that listen to this show. What do you see are some things that, well, what have you learned from CrossFit, and then what do you think could be done better?
Okay. So I've worked with a lot of CrossFitters who came to me, wanting more glutes. So here's the hard thing, because a lot of the CrossFitters are training 5 days a week already, maybe multiple times a day. So it's, what do you do? Add more stuff in? That's what's hard. Because I feel like I'm not one of those strength coaches. Like, I'm a CSCS, and I love CrossFit. I get embarrassed of my crowd when they, bash CrossFit. I was always like, what do you think you're going to cause it to go away? It's here to stay. CrossFit is here to stay.
Yeah.
It's a sport. Are you going to bash, and then you're preparing people for football.
Yeah. Right.
You're talking about strength conditioning coaches that are
there's a lot of them.
Coaching pro athletes or coaching Division I teams. Like, they've been in strength conditioning for a long time, and they didn't like that CrossFit was coming in and taking over.
Well,
not taking over, but growing as fast as it did.
In their defense, the only thing they ever saw was the YouTube CrossFit fail videos.
Right.
That's like cemented in this first generation of strength
I made one of
mind.
those videos. Not
really.
Not that I created it. I was actually failing in one of them. So.
Oh, gotcha. You made it in one of them.
Well, right. you were failing because you were doing deadlifts with like 135, and they thought that was silly.
I was going really fast with.
Gotcha.
With
you were doing it correctly and all that.
It actually wasn't bad, but.
No.
It did get pointed out. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But yeah.
It wasn't the continental lift one where.
Oh no.
Yeah,
that's good.
That one went. CrossFit Albany. Sorry, guys.
But anyway, yeah, CrossFit has the best. You have to look at things and go, why is, in everything, in business, in life, in fitness, you have to look at things and go, why are they so successful? And take from that. The camaraderie through the roof.
You can't take, back to the videos, you can't take the videos of everyone that does it poorly and then extrapolate that to everyone that does it. You got to look at the people that are actually leading the industry and say, what are those guys doing? Are they doing it silly, or are they actually contributing and trying to make the whole industry better, which has happened a lot over the last 10 years.
Well, you look at, there's such a disparity between the top 3% of every profession and the lower 3%. So this goes for personal trainers. I mean, you go to commercial gyms, and I remember I like having commercial gym memberships. I try to force myself to go so I can stay on top of what people are doing.
Right.
Even if it's cringeworthy, you got to know this. How are you going to help people if you never see it? And if you haven't trained in a commercial gym for, say, you just stick to your own little garage, and you go to the gym and you're like, oh my God, what are they doing? It's
oh yeah, I mean, I've had that.
And
it's good to do that because we get stuck in a bubble.
Yep.
And then, you go to a regular gym and you're like, oh, I should be talking about this more online. I should be making more posts about this because people are making, these are very common mistakes.
Not just form errors, but program design errors for their goals. You're like, that's not a good movement for their goal. But anyway, I've always liked CrossFit. I remember the first time I ever heard about it, I was in an Einstein Bagels at ASU, and I hear people like these two nerdy guys talking about cleans and snatches, and I'm like, those guys are Olympic weightlifters? And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. They look so nerdy, but they're like, I'm trying to get my clean, and I'm like, and I hear the word CrossFit. Then 2 weeks later, I hear the word CrossFit again. I'm like, it's getting people to like free weights.
Yeah.
And the number of people that know what a snatch and a clean and jerk is incredible now. It's not strange to go anywhere and see pretty good form from someone you would never expect to be able to lift weights. Like, why is that lady pulling herself under a barbell? It's just, that would never happen 10 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember the moment I learned what a snatch and clean and jerk was. It was summer of 2006. And I remember, and I'd been training for almost a decade at that point. And if you would have told me that there'd be a ton of people doing it, 5-10 years later, I've been like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you asked what I feel could be improved upon.
Yep.
And it's funny because there's actually a video I saw. I think it was Greg Glassman was talking to I don't know, he was giving some speech to I don't know if it was some military, Navy or something, or Army or something. But at the end of it, he's like, if there was a better way, we'd incorporate it. We'd blend it in. And I'm like, I see all these glute ham raises. Glute ham raises are knee flexion. They're not much glute. I've measured the glute activity. Why would the glutes contract maximally in a glute ham raise? It's knee flexion. What do the glutes have to do? Hold the torso up? Glutes do hip extension. What are the hip extension requisites of a glute? Yeah, you feel them a little bit squeezed, but it's not maximal.
Yeah. Well, no one's really, well, I won't say no one, but a lot of people are just using it for sit-ups.
The GHC sit-ups, right?
Yeah.
But they, you know, they have you have the barbells.
he's like, that's a whole another conversation.
Don't start. Yeah.
You're poking the bear.
But that was a softball, Bret. Go for it.
I'm not touching that. But you've got all the barbell lifts. Mm-hmm. So the good things they're doing, they're focusing on squats, deadlifts, Olympic lifts, and that's great, and lunges and stuff like that. There's a lot of axial loading, but I'm telling you, it's not enough. When I start working with, I've probably trained 2,000 people since I was like 20 over the past 21 years, and it's the weirdest thing with hip thrusts. A guy last night that 2 nights ago I trained, my friend Paul Ravella, he has never done hip thrusts before, but he's tall like me, and some people are just well suited for hip thrusts. His very first time he got 405 for 6, 405 pounds for 6 reps. Good form. And his glutes, he's feeling it in his glutes. I've trained other people who, so this was when I was in New Zealand. There was a CrossFit gym owner, and this guy was from Zimbabwe, and jacked dude, so strong. He had like a 455 squat and like a 495 deadlift. So I started out with barbell glute bridges, and I think I'll put 135 on there. This will be easy for him. He couldn't budge it. I had to go teach him body weight. And he had a lot of anterior pelvic tilt too. So I teach him body weight, and he's trembling at the top as if it's like a max effort thing. So I gave him body weight glute bridges 7 days a week. I just said 3 sets of 10. And these were like max effort for him. Like he'd be at the top, like, and then I also gave him the rounded back extensions. Well, his deadlift went up 60 pounds in 1 month from those 2 exercises. Because think about it, he's so weak up at the lockout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
he fixed the deficiency.
60 pounds when you're at 500.
Yeah, so he
big deal.
Hit like a 640 or sorry, a 555 or something like that. Like, and he loved me because
for sure.
Yeah,
he probably hadn't PR'd in 2 years.
But he had big glutes.
Numbers like that.
He had big glutes.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is what this does not mean he had weak glutes. It means he probably had strong glutes in deep hip flexion, and then weak glutes at end range hip extension. So it's kind of like range specific strength there. But a lot of CrossFitters have a lot of hyperextension related issues because of all the axial, all the Olympic lifts, all the squats, and especially a lot of the females. And they'd crush my girls in squats. They'd crush my girls in all the squat variations and Olympic lifts. But my girls crushed them in all the horizontal-based stuff, hip thrusts and everything. So you don't want that big of an imbalance there. You want to be incorporating. So if CrossFit just started doing some of and there's so many good variations to do, but glute bridges, hip thrusts, frog pumps, back extensions, they should add those in, and I feel like people would see not just aesthetically better results, because everyone likes aesthetics.
For sure.
Yeah.
We all like having good physiques, and glutes are important, but also from a functional standpoint, the glutes are, like you mentioned, they're the keystone of the body, and every muscle is important. I don't like to just be like unfair with the glutes, but if you look at the connections that the glutes have, I mean, not just with the femur, the sacrum, the pelvis, but also with the fascia. They're connected with the thoracolumbar fascia, the iliotibial tract, even the pelvic floor, the deep fibers. So through the iliotibial tract, they connect to the lower limb, through the thoracolumbar fascia to the upper body, and through the core and everything. So it affects a lot of things. So just anecdotally, so many people, when they start adding some of these things in, you start hearing, as a trainer, you start hearing all sorts of things, like, from clients. Like, I'm from lower back pain improvements to hip. I don't have the hip pain anymore when I squat. I don't have lower back pain anymore. When I can do this hike and I don't develop low back pain like I used to 3/4 of the way up the mountain, things like that. I'm walking. I feel like my strides are more powerful. Those are the things you tend to hear. But the one thing I urge people not to do is, like, you see someone hip thrusting 500, 600, 700 pounds these days. You don't realize that I started off with 185 back in the day. It took me a couple of years to work up to 405, and then a couple more, start out with body weight or light loads, feel the glutes squeeze, and then build up gradually with them.
Yeah.